everyone, this is Nishtha from Nish Online Interior Design, Paint Color Consultation and Home Decor Content Writing. Now in my earlier video, you must have seen that we've discussed various paint colors for your east-facing rooms. Today I'm going to be talking about another compass direction. So it is as tricky as the east-facing rooms, but at the same time the kind of natural light that is received throughout the day is a bit altered. Even the saturation of the light that enters your space in this compass direction is slightly altered as compared to the east facing rooms. So yes, today I'm going to be talking about 10 best Sherwin Williams paint colors for the west facing rooms. So just like your east facing rooms, west facing rooms can be equally quite tricky to deal with. So definitely it is opposite of what east facing room has to offer. So earlier in the morning hours, your east facing room receives passive warmth. At the same time, in the west facing rooms, your early mornings are quite grayed out, quite shadowed. As the noon hits, you'll see some sort of light entering the space, but again, it's not like sunshine. So your room is filled with natural light during the noon time. So again, you must expect the lighter tone colors to wash off their undertones. And as the day sets, well, somewhere around 3 p.m., you'll see overly golden or a warm or yellowish light entering the space, which is as opposed to your east facing rooms, which still have passive warmth light in the morning. So you see there are three completely different aspects that you have to deal with in your west facing rooms, and this article is dedicated to discussing all of that. So you must be wondering that, there is a certain room in your home which gets overly warm in the afternoons. It's terribly warm as compared to the mornings. It's much calmer in the morning, but as the sun sets, maybe that bedroom or maybe that dining room gets overly heated up. And that is because the incoming western afternoon or evening light is so sharp, harsh and warm that it can tend to make your west facing rooms feel overly warm, and that is why the only mantra that you can opt here is go for much cooler tone paint colors, or if you're choosing warmer tone paint colors, you have to have a certain grey undertone to them to make it feel calmer. So definitely warmer tone paint colors in a west facing room is definitely a no-no, because it can further make your space feel cozy, warm, which may be not anticipated well. So one of the most important aspects here is you need to determine what time are you actually using your west facing room in. So let's say if you intend to use this west facing space in, let's say in the mornings, then you must choose a slightly warmer toned paint color, because it can really feel grayed out in the morning, especially your west facing rooms. At the same time, let's say if you're using your west facing room in the evening or the afternoon hours, you can experiment with a slightly cooler and a calmer toned color. You can even go with much crisper and icy cold colors here, because after all, you're using that space in the evenings and you don't want the space to feel overly golden or yellow or warm or heated up. At the same time, if you intend to use this color somewhere between the two, you have to choose the color which has considerable depth, so the undertones don't get washed off or create a glare in the afternoon hours. But let's say if you're planning to use this west facing room throughout the day, then what? Well, in such cases, you must choose paint colors that are more neutral, that are neither very warm nor too cool. These paint colors must also not have a very dominant undertone, and at the same time, you must introduce artificial lighting in a way that it plays blissful throughout the day. So let's say if you have more neutral to slightly cooler tone paint colors in the west facing room, you can experiment with like warm white lighting out there. Or let's say if you have warmer tone paint colors like super bright or super warm beiges in your west facing rooms, then there is no harm in introducing colder and cooler hues in your light saturation, your furnishings and furnitures, your accessories, to make that space cooler down. So I'm going to be discussing 3 different conditions here. Firstly, if you plan to use your west facing room in the morning hours, you must try choosing warm whites, warm greens, khaki and blue paint colors with a green undertone. You must try to avoid whites with a yellow or red undertone anyway. Also choose paint colors that have more chroma than grey, since that will help balance off with the undertones. Now in the second condition, when you plan to use your south facing room in the afternoon hours, you must choose cooler hues such as blue, green and violets, or even cool white or grey paint colors. Cool paint colors can help balance off the incoming warmth in the west facing room. Meanwhile, they must have considerable grey in them to calm down the colors as well. And my third condition would be, if you plan to use this west facing room in the evening hours, then you must definitely go with paint colors that have considerable depth and LRV. This is definitely the warmest time of the day, so you can even choose neutral colors which are neither too cool nor too warm, and experiment with some bolder colors as an accent as well. So now if you fall into one of these categories, you know which paint color will best suit your space. So now that we've already discussed the nitty-gritties, the do's and don'ts, the various lighting conditions, let's get started with my list of top 10 best Sherwin Williams paint colors that go in your west facing rooms. And the first paint color on my list is Sherwin Williams Agreeable Grey. Well, Sherwin Williams Agreeable Grey is a perfect blend of beige and grey, which is why it's such a popular, one of the best selling greige paint colors out there. And let me tell you, it's also one of my absolute favorite greige paint colors out there. You know why? Because it's so neutral, it's neither too warm nor too cool, and at the same time it wouldn't feel overly warm, golden or yellow in your later evening hours, and at the same time it won't come off very cool, icy crisp in the morning hours as well. So let's say in your morning hours, Agreeable Grey is going to hold its warmth pretty well without being overly warm in the afternoon hours as well. So definitely this is my go-to paint color for the west facing room. You must expect this greige paint color to feel slightly muted in the early morning hours, not icy cool or grey. And as the sun sets, it feels cozy and glowy without getting overly warm. This color has an LRV of 60 and it can hold itself pretty well without washing off any undertones. Well, for transitional and traditional style homes, you can even experiment this color as a whole house color scheme. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Agreeable Grey color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. You can easily find the links of these digital products on my website as well as my Etsy shop in the description box below. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Silver Strand. Sherwin Williams Silver Strand is a grey neutral paint color with a touch of blue and green undertones. This color is definitely more subtle and muted as compared to Sherwin Williams Sea Salt or Sherwin Williams Rainwashed, with more grey than chroma. Especially if you intend to use the west facing room in the afternoons, Sherwin Williams Silver Strand will come off quite a pretty blue-green paint color. Now Sherwin Williams Silver Strand has an LRV of 59, which means that it has considerable depth to it. It can hold itself pretty well even in your west facing rooms that receive ample incoming natural light, and at the same time you can expect this color to look slightly grayed out in the mornings, definitely, but as the sun sets, this color can prove to be quite gleaming and glowy with the blue and green undertones in the evening hours. So especially if you use your room in the evening hours, Silver Strand is a beautiful cool tone paint color that you can use to calm down your space. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Silver Strand color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Origami White. Now if you're looking for a white paint color for your west facing room that does not get overly cool or warm and does not wash off its undertones as well, then Origami White can be a perfect choice. It is neither too icy cool or crisp, which can be quite cool in the early morning hours, nor does it have a very creamy or a yellow base which can feel overly golden or yellow in the later evening hours. So this is definitely an off-white paint color with the slightest touch of cool undertones and yet not too icy or crisp. With a wink of violet, the incoming warmth will counteract and create a balanced appeal. Now Origami White has an LRV of 76, which means it's definitely crisp and fresh. In the morning hours, expect the color to appear muted with a refreshing look. In the warm afternoon and evening hours, this color will balance with the incoming warmth without looking yellow or overly warm. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Origami White color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Crushed Ice. Now Sherwin Williams Crushed Ice is definitely an off-white paint color, or I must say a darker off-white paint color with the grey and a touch of brown to it. So this color is definitely not too icy as well, but at the same time it's a grey color. It can appear cool, calm, refreshing without going overly cool or crisp or uncomfortable. With the slightest touch of stone undertones, this color doesn't feel very frosty, so it can easily balance off with the incoming warm light and appear as a true neutral paint color in the west-facing rooms. So if you're particularly fond of the grey paint colors in a west-facing room, this must definitely be on your list. Although it may look shaded in the morning and afternoon hours, you can always experiment with warm white, artificial lighting and bulbs in the room. Now this color has an LRV of 66, which means that the grey undertones can look slightly heavy and can work perfectly well in a brightly lit west-facing room. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Crushed Ice color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Tradewind. Now Sherwin Williams Tradewind is definitely a lighter, airy, breezy, blue-grey paint color with just a wink of green undertone. This color can come off quite well all day long, especially if you're fond of the blues in the west-facing room. Also, if you have a coastal interior design style or if you have a beach house to decorate, then Tradewind can truly play a wonderful role in your west-facing room. This breezy blue color makes a beautiful appeal in the west-facing room while avoiding the sprays from appearing overly warm. In the early mornings, this blue-grey color also doesn't look very icy cold, hence a win-win situation. With an LRV of 61, this blue-grey paint color falls on the lighter end of the scale. So especially in your well-lit west-facing room, this color can come out quite calm and tranquilizing all day long. Yes, it's not a chilly blue color, so definitely a yes. Now the green undertone in this color is what can soften things up and make them slightly warm for your morning hours. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Reflection. Sherwin Williams Reflection is a cool toned icy blue paint color with considerable grey undertones. It has an LRV of 66, hence it must only be used in a well-lit west-facing room with a considerable square footage. You can even play with warm artificial lighting to add a touch of coziness and comfort. You must definitely avoid this paint color if you already reside in a northern colder region. Well, Reflection is definitely an icy cold paint color. So let's say if you're aiming for an icy cold look in your west facing room, or if you reside in a southern state and have immensely golden or warm overheated light coming in your west facing room, then Reflection can definitely soften things up. If you use your west facing room, especially in the evenings, this color can definitely add a calming, tranquilizing and a cooler vibe for you. Now you can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Reflection color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Extra White. So now that you're looking for a bright white paint color for your west facing room and you want to add a chilly vibe, then Extra White is definitely something to have an eye on. It's a beautiful, cool, crisp, refreshing, clean, bright white paint color with an LRV of 86. That means it can really cool down your space, especially if you have immense heat coming in the later evening hours. Also, this color works wonderfully in smaller west-facing rooms that receive little to almost no incoming natural light, or if your windows are shaded or covered with a patio, this color will definitely brighten up the dull corners of your west-facing room. Even with little incoming natural light, this color in the west-facing room can be one of the best decisions you'll ever make. Although expect the bright white to showcase the slightest touch of a blue undertone in the early morning hours. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams extra white color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams First Star. Now Sherwin Williams First Star is a medium to dark toned off-white paint color, or I should say a lighter toned paint color in general with a deep icy cool grey undertone. So if you're looking to add a calming and crisp feel to the west-facing room, this color should definitely be on the top of your list. It may come off quite soft and not too stark in the afternoon or evening hours. Meanwhile, in the morning, expect this color to add a refreshing and crisp statement to the room. With an LRV of 69, this color has considerable depth as well and wouldn't look very washed out. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams First Star color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Rainwashed. Now Sherwin Williams Rainwashed is a beautiful recommendation for your west-facing rooms as well as the east-facing rooms. So this color isn't overly icy cold because of the hidden green undertone, but this blue-green blend can work beautifully in your west-facing rooms, whether you intend to use the room in the mornings, in the afternoons or the evenings. In the morning hours, this color will hold itself pretty well with the dominant green undertone. Yes, with a shaded look, this color will equally create a refreshing and rejuvenated appeal. Meanwhile, it has an LRV of 59, hence not too light and not too dark. Even in medium to smaller sized west-facing rooms, this color will exhibit a beachy and coastal vibe. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Rainwash color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the last color on my list is Sherwin Williams Malted Milk. Now that we've already discussed some greige, a couple of whites, some blue-green blends, some blue-grey colors, let's talk about another paint color category that you can definitely experiment with. Well, this peach cum blush tone paint color can be used in your west-facing room to add a sense of calmness, serenity, and at the same time make your space feel cool and calm in the later evening hours as well. So this is another pretty blush peach neutral paint color for a touch of femininity and warmth. It wouldn't feel overly warm or cool in the west-facing room depending on the lighting conditions or square footage as well. With an LRV of 62, this reddish neutral paint color can hold itself pretty well with the excessive incoming golden yellow light or grayed out atmosphere in the morning. It is also ideal for the kids' bedrooms and play areas. So, what are your thoughts on my top 10 list of Sherwin Williams paint colors that go with your west-facing rooms? Well, did you like any? Are you struggling with a west-facing room that receives overly heated sun rays in the later evening hours? Well, these paint colors are definitely something to check out. If you have any questions, you can always drop your queries in the comment box below and I will definitely reach out to you. Meanwhile, don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel as I'm coming up with these color-related videos every Monday for you. So next time, we'll be discussing another compass direction. Until then, bye.